Hello, my name is Tina Pisco, and you're all very welcome to an Earth song that is presented to you by a winter warmer. When I first became writer-in-residence for Cork City Libraries, a part of my brief was to engage the community on the subject of climate change through creative writing. I also wanted to complete a legacy project, something to leave behind. So what could be my legacy as a writer-in-residence? I'm not Irish. I came here 30 years ago. I'm a multilingual, multicultural blow-in, like thousands of others who have made Ireland their home. So I reached out to Joe and the Many Tongues of Cork to see if we could explore the subject of climate change through our multilingual, multicultural experiences. An Earth song is the result of our work, and I am very, very proud of it. It's the most fulfilling, organic, collaborative writing project that I've ever been involved with. We had no idea where we were going when we started out, but over the weeks it grew into a poetry project and then a spoken word film. And then, of course, today, doing it live. I think that we've created something which is both beautiful and addresses the most important issue of our time. Best of all, it allowed me to work with the most incredible group of women that I'm very happy to call my friends now. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Patricia Looney and Cork City Libraries for making this project possible. I'd like to thank Paul Casey and everyone in Vale and the Winter Warmer for having us here. And I'd also like to thank Joe, who was just so important in organizing and in making the final edit of the film possible. And so without further ado, I will pass you over to Joe of the Many Tongues of Cork, who will introduce an Earth song. I hope you enjoy it.
Namaskar, mic check, all okay? Cool. My name is Joe, and thank you, Tina Pico. It's a joy to work with you and to hold space for all our poetesses, the Magnificent Seven. My name is Joanna Dukkupati, and I'm the steward of Many Tongues of Cork. It's heartwarming to be here in person to share an Earth song with you, all of you in the room, out there in the world. I will now introduce can I just say my, Magnificent Seven in the sequence of their performance. First up, we're going to listen to Cinthya Torrez Quispe, who performs in Aymara and Spanish. Cinthya was born in a community in the Aroma province in La Paz, Bolivia. Cynthia's familial roots are Aymara, and she speaks the native Aymara language. Cinthya moved to Cork during the pandemic last year, which is wonderful and great. Cinthya hopes for a better world and proactively takes actions so as not to hurt people. Next up would be Claudia Maria Zedda. Claudia is originally from Cagliari, Cecilia, Italy. She studied international development and food policy here at UCC. Claudia is also the vice chairperson of UCC Fallujah Refugee Society, while fulfilling the role of opinion editor for UCC Express. Tina Pico, whom we heard earlier, performs in English, French, and Spanish. Tina moved to West Cork many, many moons ago, where she raised her 4 daughters on 3 acres of land, which she calls her little corner of paradise, and which she has dedicated to rewilding. That was wild. She believes that climate change is the most important challenge humanity has ever faced. After Tina, you will listen to Dr. Lekha Menon Margassery, who will perform in Tamil. Dr. Margassery is a gold medalist in biochemistry, a classical dancer, an award-winning community activist in Cork, We're lucky to have her. I mean, all of this planet is because we were this close to losing her to Mars. Zita Vella performs in India Ballet. Cork is very fortunate to have Zita as well. She's a Ethiopian writer. Yeah, it's gone off. Should I wait? Continue? Yeah. Yes, I'm gonna keep going. She is a Zimbabwean writer who urges us to adopt the old ways to revive our earth in all aspects. Her favorite sayings are, from plants we get our healing, and let food be thy medicine and thy medicine be thy food. She would be very popular with my mother. Cecilia Gamez performs in Spanish and Nahuatl. Cecilia moved to Ireland from Mexico. She's got 15 years of teaching experience, which includes being a school principal. She is on the board of EIL and is the co-founder of the Mexicans in Cork group. And then we will have Anja. She's Dutch-Canadian award-winning musician, writer, and pilgrim who spins her tales and sings her songs as she follows in the footsteps of all those who have gone before her. Though Anja is not here in this room with us today because of whatever reason, we will listen to her poem in Dutch, and Tina will read the English translation, and then we're going to end with a big party. Is that okay? So let's begin. Come on, Cinthya, let's begin.
Beauty, pianeta, inquinamento, riflesso, radice, santuario, silenzio, quiete, sole, alberi, vento.
I understand. Hello. Hello, can you hear me? Hi, everyone. My name is Cinthya. The name of my poem is Les Reflets, Amun Casignani, in Aymara and in Spanish. Amun Casignani. Antes que el sol caiga, reflexionemos. Antes que los ríos dejen de correr. Antes que las aves no encuentren hogar. Antes que el cielo azul sea leyenda. Antes que la razón sea estrecha, reflexionemos. Antes que se termine la fauna, antes que nuestros orígenes lloren, antes que los idiomas y las memorias agonicen, Amun Casignani. Antes que el vuelo del ave más grande cese, antes que la dulzura de la tierra se seque, antes que el perfumado viento sea ausente, antes que toquen el alma de la selva, Amun Casignani. Antes que silencien a más guardianes del bosque, antes que talen los últimos árboles tropicales, antes que la contaminación cause más muerte, antes que no exista solución, Amun Casignani. Antes que la resistencia desista, antes que la semilla no germine, antes que las temperaturas sean fuego, antes que no exista futuro, Amun Casignani. Reflexionemos. Let's reflect. Before the sun's gone down, let's reflect. Before the rivers stop running, before the birds find no home, before the blue sky is legend, before reason is narrow, let's reflect. Before they exterminate the fauna, before our origins cry, before languages and memories agonize, before more blood is split, let's reflect. Before the flight of the largest bird ceases, before the sweetness on the earth dry up, before the perfume wins its absence, before they touch the soul of the jungle. Let's reflect. Before they silence more guardians of the forest, before the last tropical mountain are cut down, before contamination causes more death, before there is no solution, let's reflect. Before the resistance give up, before the seas fails to terminate, before the temperatures are fire, and before it's no future, let's reflect. Thank you.
Can you hear me? My name is Claudia and my poem is called Ieri notte ho sognato il mare in Italian. Ieri notte ho sognato il mare, ho sognato il sole e la brezza autunnale. Le onde mi cullavano in un eterno passare, dove passato e presente non possono stare. Il cuore galleggiava leggero e credeva di saper nuotare. Si godeva il silenzio costiero, senza paura di annegare, ma solo di potersi svegliare. Ad occhi chiusi vorrei restare e continuare a fingere di saper nuotare, ma una fievole voce sembra con urgenza chiamare, pare avverta qualcosa di atroce dal lontano occidente arrivare. La paura sembra reale, apro gli occhi e l'azzurro scompare. Tutto è immobile, mi sento soffocare. Petrolio, cosa ne hai fatto del mio mare? La voce ora sembra singhiozzare. Mi dispiace tanto, non ti posso aiutare. So now I'm going to say the English translation. It's called Last Night I Dreamt of the Sea. Last night I dreamt of the sea. I dreamt of the sun and the autumn breeze. The waves were crumbling me in a timeless eternity where past and present cannot reside. My heart was lightly floating and believed to know it could swim. My heart was enjoying the coastal quietness, fearless of drowning, but only scared of waking up. I wish I could stay with my eyes closed and keep pretending I can swim, but a feeble voice from far away seems to urgently call my attention. The voice forecasts something horrendous arriving from the distant Occident. The fear feels real. I open my eyes and the blue disappears. Everything is still. I feel suffocated. What have you done to my sea, petroleum? The voice is now sobbing. I am really sorry, but I can't help you anymore. Thank you.
Riflesso, radice, santuario, silenzio, quiete.
Communauté, énergie, famille, famille.
Hi, me again. Tina Pisco, and my poem is in English, French, and Spanish, all mixed up, because that's how I think. Longing for wilderness, je me suis enfui. La Belgique devenait trop encombrée, trop polluée, too small and crowded. The only wildness fenced in and tame. Alors comme ça, je me suis enfui et j'ai atterri ici, dans cette campagne irlandaise pleine de chants d'oiseaux, de forêts et de fleurs. Mon petit coin de paradis. My first spring in West Cork, I admired those who had planted the hedgerows with banks of daffodils and primroses. Je n'avais connu les prix verts que dans les petits pots. que j'achetais au marché chaque printemps. It took a while for me to realize that they were wildflowers. Feral, sauvage. J'ai toujours aimé les endroits sauvages, los lugares salvajes, el Mediterráneo, mi primera selva. Pequeña niña, con mi cubito, descubrí un mundo más mágico que Disneylandia, lleno de estrellas, cabellitos de mar, pez globos, algas y peligro. Aujourd'hui, la plage de mon enfance est propre, sans la moindre trace d'algues. L'eau est un désert limpide, as if it were bleached, sin pescados, sin algas, sin vida, comme une piscine. Les oiseaux chantent ici, dans mon petit coin de paradis. Pas tout à fait sauvage, mais presque. Espoir, hope, esperanza, my mother's name, el nombre de mi madre, though no one called her that, not even her mother. Je creuse mon jardin, je sème l'avenir, j'attends l'été. Thank you.
Inquinamento, riflesso, radice, santuario, silenzio, quiete, sole, alberi.
I'm Dr. Lekha Menon Margassery, and I'm going to recite my poetry in my native language called Tamil. It's a South Indian language, so let's begin. சிந்தித்து பாருங்கள், நான் மண்ணில் விளையாடிய அந்த நாட்கள் ஒரு கனவு போல் ஆகிவிட்டது. தண்ணீரில் விட்ட காதுகை படகு ஒரு ஞாபகமாய் ஆகிவிட்டது. மரம் தணலில் விளையாடிய அந்த நாட்கள் எங்கே போய்விட்டது அந்த காலம்? மனிதனின் காரணத்தால் அது எங்கே போய்விட்டது அந்த காலம்? மனிதனின் சுயலினத்தால் காரணமாகிவிட்டது. மரம் சாய்ந்தது, வீடுகள் உயர்ந்தது. தாய் பூமி எவ்வளவுதான் சுமை தாங்கி இருப்பார்? அவள் மௌனம் மனிதன் கவனக்குறைவாய் எடுத்துள்ளது. அவள் கோபம் தீயாய் வளர்ந்தது. வெப்பநிலை கூட மனிதன் சாய. இதுதான் வாழ்க்கையின் பாடம். சமூகம் பெரிதாக முடியும், எனினும் அதில் தாய்க்கு கஷ்டம் வரக்கூடாது. தாயாக பூமி தேவியை பாருங்கள். நாம் நினைவிலே வரும் தலைமுறைக்கு அனுபவிக்கட்டும். இல்லை என்றால் குழந்தை பருவம் தொலைந்துவிடும். நல்லதே கற்றுக் கொடுப்போம். இதுதான் நாம் தாய் பூமிக்கு செய்யும் காணிக்கை. So the English translation is, think about it. The days I had played in the soil, it has now become a dream. The paper board I played with by the side of the river, it has now become just a memory. I remember the days when I played below the shades of the tree. Where do those days pass by? Due to the selfishness of the humans, trees have befallen and houses have been built. How long will Mother Earth bear this burden? Her silence was carelessly avoided by man. Her anger lit as fire. Her temperature rose. Humans suffered. This is the lesson which we have to learn in life. Community can grow big. Mother should not get hurt though. Look at Mother Earth as your own mother. Let the coming generations enjoy our memories. Otherwise, all the childhood will just vanish away. Let's educate them with good morals. This is how we should show our gratitude to Mother Earth. Nandri Vanakkam. Thank you.
Community, energy, family.
Salibonani. You say yebo. Salibonani.
Yebo.
Very good, Paul. My name is Nqobizitha. I'm from Zimbabwe, and my poem is Sugarman. It's a mixture of English and Ndebele, my native language. It was just us and nature. Our ways were harmless and innocent. We coexisted well with flora and fauna, and it was good like that. From my side of the world, I hear a man came with sugar. Sugar is what gave him access to us, to our land. Sinjenjenje kungenxa yomdala wetshukela. We were hunters and gatherers. Sugarmen came with herding and farming. In plants, we had food and medicine. Sugarmen showed up with laboratories that create what we eat and what heals us. Our ways were harmless and innocent. No power plants, no oil drilling, no transportation or deforestation. Wasethutsha umdala wetshukela. He came with civilization and called it progress and advancement. Haibo, very cunning and devious, my ancestor gullible and green. Oblivious to how sugarmen penetrated the other corners of Mother Earth, but I'm aware that our planet is perishing and it is because of sugarmen. Had sugarmen stayed put, maybe now I'll be helping him with our ways, which are innocent and harmless, ways to rebuild his perishing side of the globe. Wasenza umdala wetshukela. I'm yearning to return to innocence. Am I a little too late? Is it long overdue? Can I trust sugarmen to fix it? If he could lend me an ear, I'm not gullible and green like my ancestor. I am rock. Ukuyisa ungamphathanga, ubengafunda okukhulu lapha kimi, ngoba kithi sithi, umuntu ngumuntu ngemvelo futhi umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. Ngiyabonga. Thank you.
Riflesso, radice, santuario, silenzio, quiete, sole, alberi, vento.
Hello, everybody. My name is Cecilia. I'm going to read my poem in Spanish and Nahuatl. Primer domingo de lockdown. Estoy soñando. No quiero abrir los ojos. Expliqué. Mi corazón se acelera. Puedo escuchar la sangre en mis oídos. Hay algo diferente en el Hécate. Mi cerebro batalla para entender qué es. Abrumado por esta extraña quietud, por el silencio profundo. No escucho pasos, risas, plática. No hay autos bajando la colina. ¿Cómo puedo escuchar el Ixteca? Me dejo llevar por esta sensación deliciosamente diferente que da miedo al mismo tiempo. De repente los escucho. Pájaros. Como una explosión, todo un mitote, como no los había escuchado antes. ¿Puede ser posible? Están muy cerca de mi ventana y contentos. Demasiado papaqui tal vez. Y de repente quiero ser niña de nuevo y correr con mis squinkly y apapachar una huehuetl, raspar mi nariz en su corteza al tiempo que le agradezco a Tlalimantli por el olor del pasto, el color del amapazochitl y el atl que corre pura entre mis manos. Ser como Pitototzin, que canta simplemente porque amanece todos los días, porque Tonatiuh brilla en el cielo. Hoy, esos en Sontli cantan simplemente porque nosotros, Cadacamer, estamos encerrados. Finalmente, abro los ojos y en la Clauli estrecho la quietud sin dejar de pensar. que nuestro silencio les hizo felices. Cuando me dicen que siempre estuvieron ahí, que probablemente no los había puesto atención, respondo que no, que estoy segura de que por lo menos por unas semanas el Sensontli recuperó su espacio, ese Tlaltipac que le habíamos robado, que estoy segura que nuestra Tlalimantli respiró libre por unos días. Sorry, but I have to wear my glasses for this one. Am I dreaming? My eyes refuse to open. Close them. The beat of my heart fastens. I can hear blood pumping in my ears. There is something different on the air, and my brain struggles to understand what it is. It's overwhelmed by the odd stillness, by the deep silence. Can't hear footsteps, laughs, people chatting, no angels running down the hill. How can I be here in silence? I engulf the familiar moment, delightfully different, scary at the same time. All of a sudden, I hear them, birds, like explosion, singing loudly, a whole party, as I have not heard them before. Could it be possible? They sound closer to my window and delighted, too happy maybe. And I want to be a child again and run with my dog and hug a tree, to scratch my nose in its trunk while I thank Mother Earth for the smell of the grass and the color of the flowers and the water that runs through my hands. To be like the small bird that sings just because the sun rises every day, because the sun shines in the sky. Today, these birds seem to be singing just because us humans have been locked away. Finally, I open my eyes, and in the light, I embrace the stillness without stop thinking that our silence made birds merrier. When they say that they were always there, that probably I didn't pay attention before, I deny it. I'm sure that for some weeks, those birds took back their space, that planet Earth we had taken away, that our Mother Earth breathed free for some days. Thank you.
Hello, Anja's poem. Anja Bakker is the last member of our group, and Anja's poem ends on Earth Song. Unfortunately, she can't be here, so we're going to listen to a recording of her in Dutch, and then I will read the translation in English.
Water. Boven de wereld, door de velden met zendekoeien, die bellen laten door lucht zo ijl als kristal, passeren we over een bruggetje. Een oud bruggetje. Een bruggetje uit een tijd die constant is. De zendekoeien, jij en al die anderen die daar zijn en neerwaarts kijken. Naar de bron van dit mirakel. Daar, in het water, uit de grond, daar is waar het leven is. Sprankelend, helder, duidelijk. En ernaast hangt er een beker. Wind. Aan het einde van de wereld ligt een fort. Zo'n heuvel waarvan je nooit iets anders wist dan dat het een goed uitzicht over de zee heeft. Vanaf hier is het rechtstreeks naar Spanje. Eén rechte lijn. En het is hier waar de wind waait, waarin alle angst en woede geschreeuwd wordt. Ik hoor de hunne en zij de mijne. Ik hoor de jouwe. Hier heb je de mijne. Het waait door die van jullie en door de mijne. Ik hoor je. Wie hoort de mijne? Ik lig in het fort en Achter in de tuin bouwde hij een ferryportaal. Stenen doen en doorgaan voor hen die niet onder ons zijn, maar wachten. Wachten achter portalen onder onze voeten. Mijn idee was het niet. Ik ben niet zo van de stenen en de aarde, maar hij wel. Dus het portaal was daar al die tijd, want dat is waar hij het achterliet. Wist ik veel dat het daadwerkelijk een opening is naar iets? Het lijkt wel alsof. Mijn vader zei altijd dat ze daar waren aan de andere kant, achter het portaal, onder onze voeten. Hoe wist hij dat het portaal er was? Vuur. Er zijn maar twee dingen waar je bang voor hoeft te zijn. Water en vuur. Dat heb ik van mijn oma geleerd. Daar wist zij alles van. Zij woonde tussen de rivieren. Ik verbrand graag alles zelf. Op die manier weet ik zeker dat ik niets gekocht of gebruikt heb wat de wereld bij kan doen. Want daar kan ik niet meer mee leven. Ik kan niemand meer vertrouwen om het goed te maken. Dus ik wil het in mijn eigen handen houden en alles zelf verbranden.
Water. Above the world there's a field filled with Zen cows, whose bells jingle jangle through the air as thin as crystal as we pass over a tiny bridge. A tiny old bridge. A tiny old bridge from a time which remains constant. The Zen cows, you and all the others who are there, and look down at the source of this miracle. There, in the water, out of that soil, there, where life is, sparkling, sheer, clear, and hung next to it is a cup. Wind. At the end of the world, there's a fort. One of those hills where one of those hills where all you know is that there's a good view over the sea. From here, it's straight to Spain, a straight line, and it's here that the wind blows, in which all the fear and anger is shouted into it. I hear theirs, and they hear mine. I hear yours, here are mine. It blows through us and through her. I hear you. Who hears mine? Earth. Behind the garden, he built a ferry portal. Stones, flowers, a doorway for those who are not with us, but waiting behind doors under our feet. It wasn't my idea. I'm not one of those with the stones and the earth, but he was one of them. So the portal was there all the time, because that's where he left it. How was I supposed to know that there was indeed an opening to something? It just all seemed very matey-uppy. My dad used to always say that they're on the other side, behind the doorway, under our feet. How did he know that a portal was there? Fire. There are only two things to fear: water and fire. I learned that from my granny. She knew all about it. She came from in between the rivers. I like to burn everything myself. That way I know for sure that I didn't buy or use anything that can hurt the world, because I can't live with that anymore, and there's no one I can trust to make it right. So I want to hold it in my own hands and burn everything myself. Thank you.
Well, that was an art song. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that. Yes, so that was the art song, and it's pity Anja is not here, but it's what it is. And thank you, Ray.
Oh, yes.
You know, this is something that I always try to make time for, to make sure Ray gets all the notes required, and it's always me who's the last. Like I gave Ray, like I gave the script to Ray this morning. Like I gave it last night, but yeah, Ray. I would like to. We still have the room for 2 minutes. Our session is still in motion. So if anybody has any questions for any of our poetesses, please throw them out. Anything. Doesn't have to be about the poem. It could be about their costume. I don't know. It's up to you. There's no pressure. If there's no question, that's fine. I can just let Tina talk here and do a monologue.
Sure, I can.
Any question? Cedric? Because I know you. So I just put you on the spot. You have no questions? That's insane. Oh, Rosie, yes. How did I find everyone? I gave them no choice. That is true. But except for Cinthya, who I put out on Twitter, and I think Cecilia reshared the tweet, and it came into Cynthia's feed. But everybody else, and also for Claudia, everyone else had no choice.
I was gonna say, if I could jump in there.
Yeah.
We actually started with a larger group.
Yes.
How many, maybe 10?
In the email thread, there were at least 20.
Yeah, and then so there was a lot of discussion in the beginning with people who didn't then continue to write, but it did inform us. And yes, there are that many questions, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you a little bit, because when I said it was the best, most beautiful organic collaborative project I've ever been in, it was. I love the idea of organic collaboration, workshop and stuff. But often it just falls apart, And somehow this just moved from this larger group, all discussing mainly climate change, mainly the environment, but also what it's like to be a foreigner living in Cork, what it's like raising children in several languages, all sorts of things. And then it finally coalesced to this group. And we still weren't really sure what to do. So what we ended up doing was, I asked everyone to write a list of words, kind of like just stream consciousness from all of our discussions, and that's how we got
that chorus.
This chorus. And then we asked everyone to translate that list of words into their own languages, and by that time, I was kind of encouraging people to just write some flash fiction, write some whatever, and then everything that was coming back was poems.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I think this is a poetry project.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't in the beginning, we didn't know what it was, And then, of course, Joe was, wonderful in encouraging us to record them and to maybe record, give us just that little technical information we needed as to do it. And that's how it became, a poetry film. So that was from how many weeks? It was like kind of from end of January until April-ish.
Yeah.
Once a week.
Yeah, we would meet once a week. Yeah, and big shout out to Google Docs. We kept it really simple and worked off one document.
I actually think the pandemic helped, simply because we have such different lives. And we're in and we would meet at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday.
Yes.
I know for a fact that there's a lot of people who, it's like 7 o'clock on a Tuesday, you're kidding.
Yeah.
I have to go home on 3 people have to do this. Yeah. So in a sense, the pandemic was really helpful.
Yeah, it was. It was. Yeah, a bit of behind the scenes. Yeah. Anybody else have any question? Molly, you're a musician. Do you have a question?
And the one where it's like up to something other than the religion that people sing in different languages, and how a lot of the time, a lot of the thinking is not, that is kind of not, like in certain things, there is some languages that there's in the word more English. And I wonder how what kind of language that.
That's a great question. Yeah, the question is that's Molly, by the way, Molly Sterling, musician, has made Cork her home now. And Molly's asking about the fact that she has had conversations with different musicians who sing in different languages, and then they might not be a word for whatever it is in their language. So did we face that in the group? And how did we overcome that? Or did I, yeah. I don't know, who wants to take that? Does anybody want to take that? Cecilia?
What's interesting is both of the people who wrote in Spanish
Yes.
also wrote in different languages as well.
Aymara and Notel, yeah.
There wasn't one.
There were two things happening. First,
Can you pass the
it was
microphone,
my
please,
case to
to
somebody else.
Troy?
Thanks. I think it was my case and somebody else that I first wrote in English. And then because I was finding very hard to write in Spanish and then write it.
I'm sorry, Cinthya, you will have to come up here.
So,
Oh, yes, of course, because we're on.
Sorry.
The microphone.
I started writing in English. I'm not a writer, so I found very difficult to put my ideas on paper, and then I started doing it in English. And the funny thing is that when I wanted to do it in Spanish, I found that it was very difficult to change the structure. And then I had the idea of writing in Nahuatl, that is one of the many Mexican indigenous languages that I do not speak. And I found out that the structure of Nahuatl is very difficult. So I only pick up some of the Nahuatl words that we have in common Mexican Spanish. And then I try to write around them. And so if you actually read the poem in English and you use the Nahuatl word, you would understand what I'm talking about. If you just, instead of water, you pronounce atl, but you read the whole phrase, then you will understand. So it was, in that way, it was easier, but the construction was completely different for my brain. As a Spanish native speaker, I started from the other side. And it was difficult to find the same deep meaning for certain words. Like earth, it sounds just like earth, but for many of our languages, the native word is Mother Earth. So then became the discussion why our indigenous cultures always relate earth to motherhood. And that was a very important kind of, and some people didn't like the idea. And so, yeah, and they dropped the group, by the way. So there were kind of some of the examples that I can think about it. So I don't know if someone else wants to add something.
Thanks, Cecilia.
Just short. While we were writing, we normally did many words and we translate in our own language. And one of the words were pollution. And in Aymara, that word doesn't exist. But I was trying to research and asking my mother or my family at home. Because many years ago, was no pollution, so that word wasn't exist. So that was nice in some way to understand how our actual word change, and maybe now we have that word, and it's kind of related, and it could be like disease, but in Aymara could be like samantanya, but it's not exactly the word. Again, it's for reflecting how we need to change the way we are living in some way. Thank you. Yeah, any more questions? Anybody? Kevin? I have a question for you. Kevin is Cecilia's other 100%, and we're living with a person like Cecilia, and I can say this because all the other people in our group, they've got incredibly non-linear lives. You know, they're activists, they're doing their bits and stuff like that. So what is it like for you? How are you the support system for our beautiful Cecilia? How do you make this happen? come here and answer his question, because he's always very good at like tweeting about how incredible Cecilia is. I want to hear it. He's like, is she for real? Yes, I am. Come here and tell us about Cecilia and the work she does in 5 sentences.
Thank you.
He hates me. I love that.
Today's the first day that I've met everybody, or not met everybody, but listened to everybody. But I feel I know each of you, and I feel I know each of your stories, and I have, I think, relived all the discussions you had through January, February, and March, and it was, really interesting. It was engaging, and it just made me super proud of Cecilia, and it's very easy to be supportive of somebody you're super proud of. I think, and I suppose my question was going to be, what's next?
What's next is we're going to run away to the circus with our Earth song. Any other question? Anyone? No? Yes.
What is nice to also like share my experience. We use it.
Come here. Come here. Come here. Yes.
It was a journey for me, I would say.
Yes.
Yes.
Come here. Yeah, you want to do this one?
So I just got a call from Joe saying, you know what, there is something happening like this. And I was like, are you serious, Joe? Because I'm not a poet. Okay, I'm only a researcher, a dancer. Poet is out of my league completely. And if you're asking me to write a poem, I would think, which language should I write in? Because as you all know, India has got so many languages. I was born in one state, was, my mother tongue is completely different. And the national language, which official one, is Hindi. So I was confused when the whole picture came up. I was like, but I wanted to dedicate this to a place where I was born and brought up. And I think that those were my roots more than being, in a neighboring state or something. So that was my instinct immediately when she said, so I'll give it a go. I'm not 100% sure about it because I can only, kind of write words. I cannot make it sound like a poem. And that's how it started. So I had the first meeting. I was terrified, trust me, because what I saw in this crowd, I saw that everyone is a poet. Okay? And I was looking myself something like, okay, this is very, it's out of my comfort zone. Should I really go for it? Should I be involved in it? Am I putting myself into something? Because I want to be supportive of their project, but not literally kind of ruin it in other ways. So it was going on in my mind. But then when I think Tina put it in a very easier way, I think, and that's why I kind of started writing my thoughts when she said, just write words. So it happened just one day when I wrote my first 4 lines. I was taking my dog outside for a walk. Literally nothing happened. I just walked and I saw beautiful flowers and all nice. Something suddenly came up and I didn't have a pen or something. I started recollecting and I started saying a few words. And it sounded to me that, okay, this is a phrase which I can include. And that's how my journey with them started. And that's when I was confident in telling, well, I am going to do this. No matter what, even if I write maybe 8 sentences, it's something, it's something contributing. Um, and and I love the journey, how it happened. Um, and yes, I'm more into what to say. I'm sorry for today because I was I was not sounding very confident because I'm kind of stressed about something else happening. So I was not confident in reading my language poetry, but I think the Earth song, as such, in the Cork City Library, which came out on the YouTube, was okay. And I have to thank each and everyone here. If Joe, because Joe, I know Joe for a long time, and she's always been like this to me. I don't know about the others. She's always been, okay, Lekha, you're just doing it. She doesn't give you a chance. So I have been called for addressing people. Like Saturday is the event, Friday she just calls up and says, you know what, this is a topic, just come up with something. And you're just addressing. I'm like, you just can't come up with something when there are people in front of you. You just have to think about it. And that's how I think some innovative things have worked in the world. It's just, you just collaborate and it just happens. Boom, it just happens. Like how she says in her interview, she says, boom, it lets something. So that's how it's, yeah, let's jazz or something. So that's let's jam. So I'd like to thank everyone for this, and I'm actually really thrilled as he has what's next. I'm waiting for it as well. What's next? Because I would like to probably write more now. That's because this has given me an inspiration, and who knows, we might win something, award, something. You know, who knows? Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, we have a few more minutes, and then everyone's hungry and wants to go. I have a question for the public again. It's the city library, and Tina is their writer-in-residence, and it's all about bringing writing and the joy of writing, creative writing, reading, and discussion out into the public, that outreach. And it was Tina who said it should be multilingual. Let's make it multilingual, and that's extremely important. So for those, I can't engage with those watching online, but for the beautiful few here, how do you feel now listening to all these languages that are being spoken in your backyard? We would all love to know how do you feel listening to these languages?
You do that so well.
I do it so well, but I'm not going to do this time. It could also be a reflection that you take now with you when you leave the room, and you could tell us later and drop us a message, but it is something we want you to think about. Oh, yes, there is somebody over there. Yes.
You have to come up,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Oh, it's almost this regret, like, why did I put my hand on? Sorry, it's just because it's online as well.
Sorry, I was just thinking there how that the structure of languages, is universal, whether it's spoken or signed, so that conundrum is there, but obviously there is something in us humans that have a structure that we have to express what we feel inside, and we know there is a structure, but to find that structure and find the shape. So like the lady that was saying, they're from southern India, that you were saying you were just thrown into the deep end, and how were you going to think of a poem in a second, but you were thinking, if I get the shape of it, and I think that's very interesting about we actually think in shapes with languages, I think, as well, and it's mathematical, and it's so it doesn't matter what language, we all have that kind of innate need to put structure on it and shape on it, and that if you just give it enough time and patience, it will come, but you might need a deadline, all right, like. So that's my observation. So thank you very much.
yeah, my father would love that because he's a mathematician. Sorry, he loves maths and physics, and yeah. So if you're saying language is like maths, he's gonna be like, yes, it is. Anybody else feel anything after listening to so many languages? Yes, Kevin. You have to come back here. Oh, Kevin, you're so daring now.
It's your encouragement.
Oh, on my bullying.
I guess I can remember Cork when you would walk through the streets and the only language you'd hear was English, maybe the Irish language once in a while. And it really strikes me now on a Sunday, particularly for some reason, when I walk through the city centre, you hear so many different languages. And sometimes it's really interesting, is that Spanish, is that Portuguese? And you're trying to pick up what language it is. And it's just, I think, so enriched the city, it's so enriched our culture. It's because language leads to other things. It leads to food, it leads to music, it leads to all this incredible diversity that makes our community and our city so much richer. So for me, it's really exciting, and projects like this are really exciting to give a voice to the many different tongues or the many different languages. So I really genuinely mean what's next. We do need more of this.
What's next is that we just go and occupy the radio channels. That's what we do. And just make them all multilingual. And then, yes, and then world peace. That's what's going to happen. I think I'm going to officially close our section so we can kind of hang out with each other without the stress of having to speak into a microphone. Does that sound okay? Yeah? Let's party. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Paul.